I had this dream months ago, and I realized more than ever how important it was to share. And I didn't think it was anything to share at the time. I thought it was just like for me, like you have your own dreams, and the Lord's telling you something, but not necessarily telling you to proclaim it to anybody or anything like that. But in this dream, um, it's a two-part dream actually, and it happens in it continues from one night to the next. So in the first dream, it's like America, but America's like run down. And I've had these kinds of dreams before, like my entire life. It doesn't matter what I'm doing in my dream. It's always that it's run down. It's always that, um, it's just, the place just looks desolate. In any kind of dream that I have, I could be fishing. It doesn't matter. It looks desolate. I could be going to the movies. It looks desolate. And in this particular dream, um, I'm I kind of like I the beginning of the dream is I'm inside of like a tall complex building, like an apartment, and everyone works in this building. It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, it doesn't matter if you're like fast food service, or you could be a business professional. We all work together in this large apartment complex. Some areas of it are nicer than other. It's like they turned a hotel, put it that way, like they turned like a hotel or like a resort into an apartment complex. And depending on where you live, maybe you get like one of the nicer suites or something like that, or not where you live, depending on your profession. You might get a chance to live in like the more nicer areas of this hotel apartment. Or if you just like work like a regular job, then you get like a regular hotel room with like a bed and like a bathroom and like like that's it, like maybe like a little kitchenette, but that's where you live. So in this dream, I guess I was off or something like that, but I go downstairs to the main patio, and as I'm standing there with a couple of people that I know, this woman walks up with a clipboard and she goes, "Okay, everyone, now it's time to," she says, "worship the name or pay homage to the name," something like that. And I know she's talking about the Antichrist in my dream. Like I know she's talking about the pagan last day worship of this person. And I was like, "Oh my gosh," cuz it's like it was just rolling out. Like it was just being issued, and like this was like day 1. So in my dream, I she's in front of me, and I kind of tried to like sort of like duck dodge, and she was like right there. So I just waited for my time, and then she dropped her pencil or her pen, whatever, and I dipped and I left, and I ducked in where I was in the crowd, and I just kind of like snuck out through wherever I was, and I went back to my room, and I went to tell the person I was rooming with. I don't know who that was, but I went to tell them, and then like my dream kind of ends. So, but it was the spiritual feeling of it that like kind of gripped me. Like it was so surreal. Like now it's time to pay, to worship the name, and it was just kind of like I can't do that. But she was right in front of me. So it's like, how do I get away from this lady, like without like getting in trouble with authorities or something like that. Then the next night, the dream I had, I remember, because how I felt from that first dream was so like pressing and like eerie, kind of scary, because the whole, maybe I'm saying it lighter than it is, but it was very pressing. Like it was very like oppressive, the feeling of the dream. And the next night I prayed to the Lord before I went to bed, and I was like, "Man, Lord, I really don't want to have any more like kind of like scary dreams like that." And the Lord told me, "No, you're going to dream again." And I was like, "Okay." So as I lay there, this dream starts of I snuck out of that complex. And not the way I felt in the dream, it wasn't like sneak out to never go back. It was just I snuck out to like explore, but you're not allowed to. Like it's past curfew and things like that. So I snuck out of this complex, and I'm walking down like this like a neighborhood street, but everything's abandoned. So there's like small shops totally abandoned, small houses abandoned, and it's in the evening. It's like 7 in the evening. And as I'm standing there, there's this procession, like these people that are like in line, perfect, like in line with each other, perfectly in line. And each person was holding a different state flag of the United States of America. And I'm looking at this, and it's so ominous because the it's like 7 in the evening. I don't know how I know it's 7. It's 7, but it's like evening time, and like the street lights are on, and I'm the only one out there walking on this street, and these people are walking in front of me, and they're saying something to themselves in unison, but super low. Like you can't hear it. You can't really make it out. And there's no drums. There's no like loud music or anything like that. They're just perfectly walking behind each other as they're walking down this road. And at that time, what ends up happening is I think to myself, like, that I knew that they weren't people. I knew that they were demons. They looked like people, but I knew they were demons. And I froze for like half a second, and just as quickly as I froze, it's like the Lord told me, if you're afraid of them, like they'll have permission to take you. So in the moment, it's like I froze, but I couldn't. It was like my body didn't do it, my brain did it, but my body like kept walking, and I just had to walk through them with full confidence. And I just had to like I just walked right through. I was like, excuse me, pardon me. I just got through them, and I ended up in an abandoned house. And if I just pause right here, something that the Lord, I think, showed me through this dream specifically, at least at that point, was you cannot back down from evil. You just can't. Because when you back down from evil, it means you're afraid of it. You're giving that evil, you're giving that entity or that person or that whatever, you're giving that the permission to capture you, to take control of you, whatever it is. It could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be fear, it could be all kinds of things. It could be physically your person. But when you back down in fear, it's like you give permission to be taken captive. And that when I left there, I walked through them, and I got into the house, and I was like, I was like really afraid, but I didn't behave afraid. Like I believed in God. And I remember in that moment, just like it's do or die. Like that's how I felt. Like it's do or die, and I got to get through them. And that's what happened. And I got through them, and I went to the abandoned house, and there was actually a person inside there. And when this person was inside there, we spoke, and they were also hiding, but whoever they were, the people outside were specifically looking for this person. And I ended up inside this house with them. And the next day, so my dream cuts off there. I lay down in a bed, I fall asleep. The next part of my dream, which is I'm still sleeping, but it's the next day in my dream. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Last time it was 7 in the evening. So now I just go early. I'll go at like 5 or something. So as I'm going at 5, the same thing happens. It's like 5:30. Because I remember thinking to myself in the dream, like, I'll just leave right after work. So I did the same thing. I hopped over the fence or whatever. I got out of the complex, and I'm walking down this road. And again, the procession again. And this time I get stopped. And this lady has a clipboard. It's not the same lady, but she's got a clipboard like the lady from the dream I had the night before. And she stopped. She's like, hey, just a minute. I just want to talk to you really quick about this initiative. And, we're going to start, rolling out like the name and worshiping the name. Like how she just made it sound like it was just like some like government initiative we were just going to have to like take on. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, I can't talk right now. I'm really like, I'm late for something. And she's looking at me. She's like, no, it'll just take a second. I was like, yeah, I'll be right back though. I'll be right back. Just got to take care of this really quick. And I just knew I shouldn't talk to her. And I did the same thing. I walked through their procession, and I got through to the other side. And again, I made it to the house, and they couldn't wait. So while I was inside the house, I'm talking to that person. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, this is the second time. I thought if I came earlier, like I would have missed, the procession of flags this time. And they were just like, yeah. Like they weren't surprised that there was another parade. And but it's not a parade. It's like with music and everything. It's very quiet. You almost wouldn't know that they're there if you didn't see them. Like you cannot hear them from inside of a house. There's no like drums, music, marching band. It's just these people holding a different flag of the United States of America, walking in unison, mumbling something quietly to themselves. And I know they look like human, but they're not. And they're just saying to me, this person, and they say to me like, listen, we've got to go. We can't stay here. They're going to come, and they're going to start storming the buildings around us and looking for people that are not going to go along with the initiative. So then for me, I was just like, okay. So The rest of the dream I don't think really pertains to anything. Like the rest of the dream is for me, I would say. But that part of it specifically, I just been feeling actually for a while. I haven't made any videos because I've been stuck on this topic. And I haven't wanted to say it because it's like I didn't think it pertained to anything. And then what happened was I was watching the news maybe like a month ago, and I saw a procession of flags of people walking across the screen, but it was communist flags. It wasn't different flags of the United States, but it looked near exact to my dream. And I'll put a clip of that, or I'll put a picture, or whatever I end up doing when editing this video. But for me, it made it more concrete that several things. First of all, we've got to know that God is the strongest being in the universe. Submitting to him is submitting to life, is submitting to strength, is submitting to wisdom, is submitting to favor, submitting to everything. Submitting to God is submitting to all things good. And secondly, we cannot show fear to darkness. We just can't. We've not been given the spirit of fear. We've been given the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. And I understand, like in a day of uncertainty like we have, where, we don't know what the elections are going to be. We don't know, what the future is going to be, because it could be the Democrat, it could be the Republican, and then it doesn't matter. The Antichrist would still come either way. Democrat, Republican, it's going to happen. These things that are in the Bible prophesied, they have to happen. There's nothing that we can do on this side of life that's going to prevent those things from happening. It has to happen. And I think for myself, I sort of didn't know how to bring this message, because it was like, it just felt weighty and heavy and not exactly encouraging. But the encouraging part of it for me is that in my dreams, God taught me, and he can do the same thing for you. I'm not special. In my dreams, God taught me and teaches me how to overcome darkness. Be it that I come face to face with a demonic anything in my dream, he teaches me, if you call on my name, you will have the strength to rebuke this thing. And that's happened before. If you believe in me, you can walk through this thing. And that's happened before. And if you take that, if God is giving you dreams and showing you things, if you take that and you use it in your awake life, like when you're awake, when he's not speaking to you through dreams or visions or anything like that, you will see that if you apply it, that it works. And you can even ask God, can you speak to me in my dreams? Can you give me visions? Can you open the spirit more for me, that I might be overflowing and walk in wisdom and in the Holy Spirit that way. So it's not just for me. I know it's not just for me. But that's what I felt to say, to be encouraged that God overcomes darkness. And I know the Bible says a lot of scary things about the last days, but we've got to remember who we are. We are a royal priesthood. And if you're a pre-believer, you can be a royal priesthood as well. It's not about time spent with God. It's not about I've been walking with God for 5 years, for 25 years, for 30 years. There's a part of the Bible where God says he pays the same amount for the worker who's been there for several days as the worker who just showed up. So salvation is salvation is salvation. Blessings are what you get after you've come to God and after you've started to, serve him in your calling or whatever the case is. And don't even let that get to your head, like what is a calling and things like that. Sometimes it's good enough to just be a good brother in the faith, a good sister in the faith, a good friend, a shoulder to cry on. It doesn't have to be that deep, But anyway, I pray that I've encouraged you with this. It wasn't intended to scare anyone. And thank you for stopping by, and stay dangerous.